Hey guys, welcome to Melissa Makes It. Today I am going to, I thought it'd be kind of fun to recreate. This is the very first thing that I ever needle felted. Probably, maybe 16, 18 years ago. And as you can see, it is a testament to being a first. I am so embarrassed when I think back to I didn't know how to make the petals. So I'm not embarrassed that I didn't know how to make the petals, but in hindsight, I'm embarrassed that I used scissors. You can see I cut them. And now that I know so much more about the quality of needle felting, like I hate that for myself. You can see the petals are kind of falling apart in some spots and they're a little flat. So today I am going to look at what it looks like to make a new one. I have decided that I'm going to do the same base white, but I'm going to have like this is a nice like smoky lavender that kind of fades out into brown with maybe a little bit of this like dark eggplant right on the very tips to kind of, I think, be the shading that I ultimately was trying to get to in the beginning. So I've got my little felting pad, this little foam pad. She's old, but she still works fine. I used to think that it really mattered to not mix different colors and stuff. And I think ultimately if you are doing a piece that is absolutely one single color, yeah, some of that contamination of other felt and whatnot might be a problem. But especially for everything that I've been doing lately, it's really not. Like the little stuff that gets in there kind of adds to the character of the different pieces, I think. As you can see, I'm kind of laying just like teeny tiny little fluffs of little like strings of the fluff going in all different directions on here to create that base. Having the fibers all go different directions really is what kind of helps it knit together faster as you start felting it in. And I know one of my problems with this first one really was how thin. I just tried to be so conservative with the wool, like with the roving, that it ultimately did not work out for me. So that's one of the things I feel like I've learned over the years is like that's the project you're doing. This is the medium you're using. So like use it. Okay, and then here, at least in this little pouch, I keep my needles in this little guy that they came in when I ordered them. The set is so old, and you can see that broken one. I keep a couple broken ones in here, a couple decoy ones for when my sons are around, and want to help. Like my youngest one is 3, and I feel like sometimes these needles might be a little too sharp. Oh, I love how you can see the little spokes on there. So, got that guy. Good needles, decoy needles. All back in there. Broken piece. I might find a cute project for him later or something down the road. And then I like to just single needle felt. I know there's tools and stuff that you can have like 3 or 4 or 10 or 15 different needles all at once, so you're like poking this essentially 15 needles at a time, but I definitely enjoy the process, and it's almost like a meditative state, like definitely in my flow state. So I really enjoy, I kind of take pride in single needle felting all my stuff. And we're just gonna poke. Okay, every once in a while, like especially if you're felting like something big and flat, you definitely don't want to felt it too far into your mat. So you gotta turn it around every once in a while, poke it from the other side. And I think probably at about this stage is where I want to start creating the petals. So I'm just gonna come in from the edges. Nice and symmetrical. So in that case, I'll create them symmetrical here too. I'll just be kind of aware of where I'm felting things down and where to add more fluff as I go to help create symmetrical shapes, because I think ultimately that's the goal of this project, is for it to be symmetrical. But I get a lot of questions, like when I'm trying to teach someone new, or when my boys are felting with me, of like, how do you make it what shape you want? And honestly, the best advice I have for that is you just got to think about where you're going. You've got to kind of lean forward into your project. Like, you know how they say sculpting, like they don't sculpt something, they're just helping the art inside come out. That's kind of what it is. Like, you're just helping the art, the shape, the art inside of the felt, outside of the felt, come into it. So if you just keep that end goal in mind of what you want it to look like, those shapes that you want in the end, it can't help but keep felting down into that shape. You've just got to keep your eye on the prize, you know. I think no matter how this one turns out, I'm already in a place of success because I'm not using scissors. Okay, so we've got this guy lightly felted around the edges just to kind of give me a good idea of where I want to go with those petals and like down in between them, but not necessarily trying to felt it down in too far. And I'm not trying to get to a final shape yet. I am just getting kind of like the bones. I know I want to get to a place by the time I get to the end that like this, like in between the petals is deep all the way almost to the middle. But for now, I'm just getting the outer shape. And these you guys are still pretty light because I know I'm going to be adding more of the color that I want. So I've got kind of the base. What we have right now, we'll get down to probably being ultimately just about like that much of the flower. So we're going to keep adding quite a bit on the edges. And we decided we wanted to do this really pretty purple. When you're blending colors, I used to kind of think that I could blend on to it. And I feel like anymore, I have a lot more success. Like doing just a little tiny bit. It's not like a 50-50. It's like a 5%. 5%. Depending, you know, on like how much you want to do. Can you see the color? Yeah, you can see that super light, which is exactly what we want. I'm gonna get enough of this that I think instead of going this way, I think it's gonna turn out a lot more of a pretty gradient if I come in from the edges and work my way back to the middle instead of from the middle out. So I'm actually gonna hold my two. Works better the more kind of like spread out your main thing is. And I'm just gonna hold them both so I don't have to keep picking them up and putting them down. And just keep going back and forth between the lavender and the white. I'm gonna start, I think, with that petal that was the smallest. They're all getting closer to the same shape, but I can feel, I think this is that smallest guy. Like these ones feel a lot more substantial in between my fingers, even though they all kind of look the same, right? So we're gonna start here, knowing that I kind of want to add a little bit of, she gets a little extra. And for me, everything about felting, like as you go through your project, is just small, soft, little bit at a time. And I'm just gonna kind of build her in to the petals. I feel like the tricky thing about doing it this way on the round instead of coming from the inside out is if I don't leave myself enough fluff for the one petal. If I try to fluff this in too much, it'll pull the fibers from this side over. But if I've already felt it all the way around, there won't be anything to pull other than from where it's already in. So I definitely want to make sure that I leave myself a lot of working space, so to speak, as I move around these petals. So I'm kind of just scooching it in. I also love felting because this is definitely one of those like trust the process things. For a little bit, we're gonna be getting farther away from what a flower looks like before we come back to center here into a flower. So that whole strip we did only did about half the flower. So let's do another one. Okay, it's always good to, at least for myself, I notice sometimes I will get very minuscule about where my mindset's at when I'm felting and I'm just going around doing like kind of the same step. So it's good to step back every once in a while and see like, ooh, maybe I've felted too far. I think I'm in a good spot on this one right now because I find that like blending colors, they blend the best the earlier in the project you do them, when stuff is still like light and fluffy. You can see on my black and white one here, like I did all of the white and then I did the black on top, and you can really see like the specific pokes where I like poked it down. And here, I'll do one for you so you can see. It like draws all the felt together into that same spot and makes it not very blended. So I think I'm in a good spot here to add. We want to find, I'm not sure at this point, I've lost track of which petal it is, which one started out as that little bit lighter one. But regardless of where it started, they all feel pretty even, except for maybe this guy's a little flat, but look how much bigger he is than the other ones. So if I kind of just felt him in to kind of match the size of the other ones, it's actually got about the same amount of fluff in there. So I think she's fine. But this guy feels just a little bit lighter than the rest. So I'm gonna add ever so small an amount of more fluff so that it's the same size as the other petals. Yes. Okay. I want to do another like step of another round, another rotation of trying to define that in between the petals real fast. Okay, we're starting to kind of get like a daisy, like a hippie flower feel, which is not bad. I kind of like it. It's cute, but I think that's a little bit different vibe than the original flower. So I think kind of what is defining it most as a hippie flower is it's got like the round, and then this part is like a little too curved. So I just am going to be aware of that as I move through the rest of this process. See, even that already, just those couple, even just thinking about it being different, now I've got them coming back more to points rather than circles. Much closer. Very nice. Okay, so we've got a good foundation here. Now I think is when we want to add just that little tiny bit on the tips. And we've got 8 petals, so I'm gonna prep 8 little sets. When we mixed the light purple and the white, we did like a 1 part to 1 part, right? But I think since this purple is so dark, I'm gonna do like 2 parts dark purple, maybe like 3 parts worth of the light purple. And then just to kind of help with the blending into the petals that are already on the flower, I'm going to do 1 part of the white so that we don't have the dark purple right onto it. So I'm going to be careful when I put my little prepped sets of fluff here onto the petals that they are going to be going the right way, so the white is touching first. Alright, so I'm going to pick up my little set of fluff here, and I'm going to put the white, like it's white, light purple, dark purple, light purple, dark purple, light purple. I'm going to put the white towards the petal first. And then just like everything else we've been doing, just small, little bit at a time. Just keep my mind on the end goal, the shape of the petal that I ultimately want it to get to. You guys, I know we just prepped all these sets, but I kind of hate it now that it's on here. I think the dark purple is just too dark. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. What would it look like if we added just a tiniest bit of brown to like soften that? I don't mind the brown. Maybe we should do it the other way and have we'll flip our little bundle over. So we've got the dark purple, right? Let's add a little bit of brown, and then let's do that is what faces into the petal. So it's actually the white on the outside. Woo. Look how much better that is. Look how pretty we are coming together now. So, you know, you can always have a plan, but you've got to be willing to pivot when you need to. Okay, I think we're decided that we do like the darker color when we add the brown. So let me add that little bit of brown. Turn them over. Okay, so we've got all of our little bunches added onto the ends of the petals. And this is what I love about felting is we prepped them all the same, right? And I don't know, like look how different they all turned out on there. I think overall, the only one I want to kind of like be aware of as I move through, like now that they're felted on, I want to felt them in and blend and really go in for that final shape of the petal. And I feel like this guy right here stands out a little bit more. So I'm just going to kind of use my needle to like pick that back out a bit. Maybe some of this lighter color underneath. And I'm going to push those darker ones that stood out just too much back in first and let some of the lighter come out around those. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Maybe a little bit of the same thing here. And then the back, somewhere along the way I've decided this is the back now. I kind of left a lot of the dark more towards the back. When I first made this one, I had no idea to even think about the back. Look how beautiful she is for who she is. But now I know they're like holistic, like 3D sculptures. Like, of course the back is just as important as the front. So I kind of like how a lot of the darker colors ended up more towards the back. And then when I get done, you'll see just the darker colors kind of like just peeking around the edges a little bit. So now I'm gonna come in, really keep that petal shape that I'm looking for. And I'm just gonna start felting in. I'm gonna do it kind of like from the outside and then back into the outside and then straight flat. Like I'm definitely working in a 3D mindset, not a 2D flat object. This will be definitely more a 3D situation when I'm done, I think, versus this guy that's totally a 2D flower. Yes, look how pretty that blending is looking. This is usually the part of the project where I'm in love with the potential of like how it looks in my mind versus how maybe sometimes it actually turns out. And like I said, felting is a love the process situation because the picture I have in my mind sometimes is not what the project turns out to be, you know, and you kind of have to either love it for what it is, what it wanted to be, or keep going until you get that thought. The hardest part about felting for me is deciding when it is done. Like from a color blended spot, love it. Done. Fin. But she's still very poofy, and I just feel like felting should be a much, like, it's not done till it's hard. And sometimes that's helpful, sometimes that's a hindrance. Maybe pop in the comments what you guys like. What are some of the ways that you feel like your project has come to a completion? So I am just gonna do this same step all the way around. Okay, so that was, like I said, just the pass of shaping edges from the outside in. Now, when you feel it, the edges, like this, like edge, is thicker. There's a lot more felting done in there versus the insides of the petals are kind of starting to feel a little hollow. So just like when we're setting up the color, like the mixing in the very beginning, we want all the fibers to be going in different directions. I have found my projects come out a lot more like what I envisioned, and a lot more smooth, a lot more even. There's not that like thick in one spot and hollow and thin in another spot. If I felt my needle in those opposite directions too. So, like I said, that last round was all about felting from the outside in. Now I'm going to felt from the inside out and think about going out. So, here we go. Okay, so that was the step all the way around of kind of like felting. You can see the needle go all the way through and like out, which has kind of created like this little lip on each petal. So from the back, I don't want to do the same thing and create like an even flower. I want to push from the inside. I want to go straight out a little bit, and keep in mind that I want to round the petals from the outside, from the back outside, to keep like a soft petal shape instead of like a fidget spinner. Okay, I'm feeling really good about where we're at. It's time to think about the middle. I maybe should have thought about the middle a little bit ago, but this is where we're at now. So, I think to maintain the integrity of the activity of copying here, I do feel so confident that I nailed the petals. Like, success already, but I gotta get that swirl. So, I think what I'll do, maybe I'll back it with the purple and swirl the brown on top. I'm gonna do both. This is a terrible color mix here compared to how meticulous I did the color mixing on the rest of this flower. Oh, look how pretty that is. Look how pretty those are coming together, like staying fluffy like that. Honestly, if this were its own project, I might go that route and leave it something like that. But it's not. We gotta get that swirl. What if we just do like that kind of unfinished circle? That unfinished circle vibe. like just a nod towards that swirl. I love the thought of that. All right, you guys, I think she's done. There you have it. What do you think? Tell me in the comments what you think of her glow up here. And if you are interested, check out my next video. I'm going to be showing you how I make my little needle felted pumpkins. Bye.